Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Hollywood Actors Guide to Surviving the Film and Television Industry. This is your host, Jennifer Lynn Warren. Today, let's talk about manipulation. Because if you don't understand how a commercial is manipulating the public, then you won't understand how to book a commercial. If you don't understand how a television show is manipulating the public, you won't understand how to book television. Same thing with films. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this little known thing about the fact, I feel like we all know it, but I don't think as actors we really sit down and think about it, how much of a product we really are, no matter how independent the film may even be, right? Tom Todoroff, who's a great teacher, mostly out of New York. I know sometimes he comes to LA, sometimes he goes to Canada. He said something in class once that always struck me. He said, "When I don't feel all my feelings, corporate America makes money. When I feel my feelings, I make the money." Now, there is a lot to unpack in all of that. But putting that aside for a moment, what do I mean by manipulation? We all know it's so obvious in commercials, right? When the wife comes home and there's a big bow on a car in the driveway because it's her birthday. I mean, seriously, how many people in America do you really think that live in like a nice suburban house can really outright afford to just purchase a car for their spouse? Not only that, but without them knowing. But it's the dream, right? They're selling the dream. So what about film and TV? Let's talk about something that all of you should have seen at some point. Let's talk about Friends. Let's talk about the apartment that Rachel and Monica live in. If you have ever been to Manhattan or heard people talk about New York and how hard it is. I mean, like when I was living in New York, I ended up living like a little bit of upstate and taking the train down into New York City all the time because I could not find anything that was affordable. I ended up living in this dude's like basement, literally, with a roommate, by the way, one room basement, because that's all we could find to afford because like even 10, 15, 20 years ago, apartments in Manhattan could, you could get like a studio for like thousands of dollars. Like it's insane. It still is insane. And even though Rachel's like working part-time as a waitress and Monica is working as a chef, not a famous chef, just an average chef, they had this crazy, amazing lifestyle that they were living in Manhattan. The show was selling to the audience a better lifestyle than they could afford without any monetary concerns. And only very, very rarely on the show did they, I know there's that famous scene where they're all at dinner and then like 3 of them are making good money and 3 of them are making terrible money and everyone wants to split the bill and it's a pricey restaurant and all the poor people are like, "Hey, I can't afford your lobster. I ordered the salad. I should only have to pay for the salad." Well, that's great. You guys are also sharing the apartment. So you guys splitting the rent like 50-50 as well? That was never brought up. It seemed like they had the one episode to kind of like make poor people kind of feel like, yeah, how are they affording like all of this? But for most of the time, there they are living this amazing Manhattan lifestyle in amazing clothing, by the way, and you never see them wear the same thing twice. So no matter what you're doing, you're selling something. If you are in the latest TV series of Interview with the Vampire, you are selling the fantasy of immortality and a glamorous life. So next time you're looking at a work, really understand where the work is coming from. And the funny thing is, I don't think most artists do this intentionally. I think that when you write something like Friends, you're not trying to manipulate the audience into this lifestyle. It's as an artist, like it's the dream that you're writing, and that's what we write about. We write about dreams and aspirational things, and heightened reality, right? Everything's a heightened reality. And you, as an actor, you're a professional human being. So you need to feel everything. And what that means is you got to be stronger than the part. When you're stronger than the part, you're going to get the job, right? And so I've had some people ask me lately some questions about casting director workshops. They tend to be coming back. I have no problems with people going to casting director workshops, especially if you don't have an agent. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do to get in the door with somebody, right? But when you're picking the material, make sure it's something that is urgent now. Something that is urgent now in our zeitgeist, something that matters to our culture and our society, collective now. Why? Because when I don't feel all my feelings, corporate America makes money. When I feel my feelings, I make the money as an actor. When you really look at a piece of art and you realize why it's being made in the moment that it's being made, you're bringing a heightened level of artistry to that work. If you just read something and you're just like, yeah, sure, it's just whatever, then you're still kind of caught in that trap of just being a consumer. And as an artist, you need to be able to elevate yourself above the level of just being a consumer of television, film, and commercial. And you have to realize that you're a part of the creator of the world that you are inhabiting. So even if you are to take, there's a reason why Shakespeare is done again and again and again. Why? Because he writes about universal themes that are always relevant. He writes about grabs for power. He writes about family conflicts. He writes all these things that he writes about, we are still dealing with today. That's why Shakespeare is done again and again and again. That's why classic works or even classic movies are still rewatchable and rewatchable and rewatchable, because they're dealing with universal themes that are always going to connect with us as human beings. I feel like if it's, the movie was made 10 years ago and you've forgotten about it, it may have been relevant 10 years ago, but it's not something I would pick material from unless you can find a sliver in there that you're like, yes, this deals with something topical today. This deals with the separation of the classes. There's more people now, more poor people versus rich people now, and the rich are getting stronger, or it's dealing with racism, or it's dealing with not being accepted for your true identity. Like, you really need to, as you're working on this material, understand what you are saying on the bigger universal theme, because I really think that does really help you book. You have to be stronger than your part. You have to feel all your feelings. You have to pick something that is urgent now. And when you read something, when you have an audition, ask yourself that question. Put that on your audition checklist. What makes this piece urgent now? So that's it. That's all I have for you this week. Break a leg out there, and remember, you are not alone. We are still supported by WeAudition.com. WeAudition.com, promo code HAG25, HAG25 for your percentage off, guys. I will see you on there at WeAudition.com.